Right, we're on. Tina Comrie, welcome to the Luke Farr Show to motivate, educate, and inspire our next generation of leaders. Thank you very much for coming on the show.
Kia ora. Thanks for having me, Luke.
It's a pleasure. First things first, let's just quickly discuss what's going on behind you.
I knew you were going to ask that. I'm actually sitting at my kitchen table, work from home today because we're in the middle of biblical floods in Auckland. But this is typically where I work when I'm at home. This is not a background. It's not a Zoom background. It is just one of the crazy pieces of art that we live with in our gallery / home.
Does he or she have a name?
Yeah, this is Shakira. I'll just angle it up there so you can see the other madness that's going on. Yeah, this is a beautiful piece by an Aussie artist called Kate Bergen, and it's massive and crazy, and I love it.
That's awesome. Shout out Kate Bergen.
Yeah.
Yeah, insert website. Yeah, that's good. Hey, for the audience, let's get stuck into a little bit of context around Tina Comrie. I mean, sometimes, we do this, it can flip two ways. I can simply just ask a very simple, easy question to the guest, or I can read it. I just prefer to read it. But you're an editor and a GM of Remix Magazine, to then head of social media at NZME, to now founder and director of the Attention Agency, which helps brands navigate the turmoil and complexity of digital and social marketing. Along your journey, Tina, with media marketing and advertising and social media, I mean, no doubt you would have ran many of campaigns and or integrated, 12 to 24 month programs for clients. I mean, in your opinion, what makes a great marketing campaign?
Oh, a great marketing campaign. That is starting off with like the biggest question of all. I think probably like taking a giant. Can I just that is literally my actual house buzzer. I have to answer that.
Sure. Go for it. Yeah. So yeah, we can go into a commercial now. Yeah.
Quick commercial break.
Yeah, 100%.
Hello.
But I will take this opportunity, actually, ladies and gentlemen, to kindly shout out our sponsor, Autophagy Skincare, made with pomegranate green tea extract, kawa. Fantastic. You can check it more out at www.autophagyskincare.com. Anyway, Tina Comrie is back on the show. That's that commercial over. The only person that witnessed that was that lion behind you. But
she sees worse things, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's good. And no, it was a hard-hitting question to start with. I like to start there, and then we'll slowly unfold into the more like, who you are and how you grew up.
Yeah, well, no, okay, that is a good place to start, because it's probably the most commonly asked question by any of our clients, or even any of my friends or people who are seeking advice, who have businesses. What makes a great marketing campaign? I think having a really good objective is probably the only place to start, and it possibly sounds a little bit boring, but you have to know what you're setting out to achieve. And if you're setting out to achieve building long-term brand awareness or customer loyalty and stickiness, is a totally different vibe from, hey, we need to sell a whole lot of product for a sale. So if you're talking at a campaign level, knowing what you're actually setting out to achieve is the foundation for what makes a successful campaign. And, not every single campaign can do all the heavy lifting across both of those things. It can't necessarily build brand awareness and achieve, a heavy hitting sales target, for instance. So yeah, that's probably the best place to start.
Yeah, absolutely. And like from a buyer journey perspective and the classic funnel of awareness through to consideration and then on to ultimately conversion, like, are you seeing a lot of brands place majority of their marketing dollars in the conversion stage and sometimes missing the key top funnel activity, which is obviously where all the trust building and loyalty happens between their brand and their prospective customer?
So much. Unfortunately, just having been like in the last few years where it's been so easy to attribute sales or direct results from especially digital channels, less so with some of the more traditional channels, although that is improving. Marketers have got that kind of, that you can see the sugar hit of the results. And so they're pouring money into that pointy end of the funnel where they're seeing all of the conversions happen and totally neglecting some of that long-term brand building stuff, which actually over time lifts the kind of brand awareness and the loyalty stuff that I talked about. And, just because it's not directly attributable. So they've got these budgets and they're like, oh, look, we can see that this part of it is totally delivering results, but all this other long-term, maybe it's your out of home or traditional stuff, or it's just stuff that isn't designed to drive direct results. They're kind of neglecting that because they don't see results immediately.
Yeah, very, very, very good insights
totally
there.
A trick,
I mean, do you think print's dead, or?
I don't think so, actually. I'm not sure whether this is an unpopular or controversial opinion, but I actually believe that some of those traditional and channels like out of home, billboard, street poster, print, I mean, even radio, TV, I think that those things are going to make a storming comeback, or in fact, in some ways are. Obviously, I'm an OG print person. My early media career started out in print, so I always have a little place for print in my heart. And I just believe that the environment of what you're sitting next to in some of those in those magazines, or even newspapers or journals, that's what you're paying for. You're paying to sit alongside the editorial content. You can be very clear about the exact type of reader who picks up and looks at that type of content. And I don't think it's dead. I've seen independent magazines come and go in my time. Some of those that have stuck around through some of the really challenging, print is dead days, have actually become stronger and they've developed digital audiences as well, so they can have that continuous relationship between issues as well now. So I actually think some of those brands are even stronger. Maybe those print runs will be fewer, maybe the size of the magazines will be less. You don't see those massive 500-page whoppers that, perhaps we used to see in the 2010s or whatever.
Are you referring to Yellow Pages? Yeah, that was big.
Well, yeah, imagine. Those things still happen. People still get them.
I used to work for them, sadly enough, but that was a very, very good experience. It was actually the glory days. We were selling full-page print ads to automotive section and mechanics for like 50, 60K. It was great.
Yeah, exactly. And let's not forget, I mean, we're the generation that straddles that generation that won't know what the heck Yellow Pages actually is. But that was literally the place. It was the place where you went to find a service provider or, anything. So, can't deny that it's a pretty critical part of the early media journey.
It was amazing. I'm pretty sure they just skipped like all of the funnel activity. It was just like known market, like straight ready to buy, right? It was like it's like your intention to the Yellow Pages. Oh, I need this right now. Call up. Book your job, just straight to conversion. How good! And being good. Like the irony of that, I think quite laughable.
Isn't that crazy? And remember, people actually named their businesses AAA plumbing or anything with
that's right.
Get themselves up in the very early pages of the Yellow Pages, So that is how influential it was that people literally named their businesses AAA everything, AA anything, just to make sure that they were ahead of their competitors at the front of the Yellow Pages.
Yeah, definitely.
Wild.
And just being vulnerable and transparent here, but I smashed the shit out of that adult, excuse my terminology here, but the adult entertainment industry, that category was absolutely thriving, and they had the money and they weren't afraid to spend it on ads. And I definitely exhausted the Auckland adult entertainment market. It was great.
Oh, I can just imagine it's just such a wild change of format for how all of that content's delivered now. I mean, how would you even make any money out of advertising for that now? Because there's so much of that stuff for free online. I don't know. Yeah. I guess people do make money out of it still.
That's so true. And I mean, as you know better than anyone else, ultimately brands are just day trading attention. And back to the print type conversation, that's very interesting, because I do think the loyalty and trust there with a print driven subscriber or their audience is far greater than anyone scrolling through social media when you're looking at that connectivity and that actual engagement between the viewer and your ad, right? Like your Insta story, those in-house ads, or even Facebook and the pixels over to the left that you're scrolling through. And if we're going to compare that to editorial and print and the actual time spent in a magazine, which I mean, I'm pretty sure reader time would be anywhere between 20 to 30 minutes in a magazine.
Sure,
a lot longer, right? So you're getting a little bit more value, I would say, out of the print driven ad as opposed to social. But what's your opinion?
Look, I don't have the data to back this up. I probably would have one day, once upon a time, when I was so in that industry. But all I can say is that if somebody has gone out of their way to either subscribe to a magazine or look for it on a newsstand and pick it up and buy it, spending $10 or $20 on a magazine, they are high intent customers. They want to be reading that content. They want to own that piece of content. It's going to sit there on their coffee table for heavens knows how long. And, their time spent with that brand is possibly an indicator that they are much more, that exact type of customer that you're trying to buy into the environment for. So, I mean, if I take Remix magazine, for example, that's a quarterly magazine.
Shout out, Tim.
Shout out to me. Oh, my, it's still a large part of my heart. And I just love what they're doing. Anyway, that's a magazine, sits on your coffee table. It's designed to be like a piece of art as well as entertainment. And the advertisers that you see that are attracted to that set of eyeballs, or that audience, you've got your Gucci's and your Pradas, and it's just this really, plus all of the kind of any art, fashion, music, any kind of lifestyle related brand wants to sit in amongst all those other brands and guarantee that there's a high quality production around it. I think there's something to be said about, buying into that environment and guaranteeing that you're going to get somebody with a really high intent. Yeah. So, it's probably not the same for the likes of Women's Day.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, and sorry to interrupt you, but that's a very good point around the shelf life of that magazine that sits there, right? It's like, it's not only just a once off. It's like, look, we don't have the data to talk about this, but like on average, how long would that like quote unquote Remix magazine sit on that coffee table for? And how many people that, especially if you're a social household, how many eyeballs are continually seeing this ad through this magazine that maybe potentially sits there for 2 years, let's say?
Yeah,
that's some really good. That's a good ROI for that advertiser.
It is, and there's a lot of magazines. There's a little bit of a trick in the trade where they'll give a whole bunch of their magazines to some of those distributors who distribute them to cafes and other public places. And dude, those magazines sit around those places for a really long time, which is actually quite disgusting thinking about how many hands have been on them. But some of those places, if you find them in a local cafe or like a coffee table on a clinic or something like that, and they do have mega long shelf time. So they can stick around. Whereas opposed to like something from the scroll hole. That's
true. Also, isn't it the more hands, the better the immune system? No, like I thought that was the thing. Like chuck your kids in dirt, play in dirt, and go and build your immunity.
I'm pretty sure that's how we were all brought up, right? Like go and have your measles parties and like go and play in the sand pits and eat the dirt, and that's how we all got strong immune systems. So I guess so.
Yeah, I'm going to go hunt out cafe print-driven magazines and just go and build my immunity. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. Hey, I want to just do a little segue and talk a little bit about mental health and mindset. I mean, what are your non-negotiables, Tina, to ensure your mental health is on point and that you're operating at your full potential?
Yeah, it's been a really hot topic for me in the last couple of years. Obviously, starting and running a business is no joke. It is pressure on anybody who's been in that position. So the last couple of years for me, I have to be at I guess the top of my game, or at least be highly functioning, and at the same time dealing with quite a lot of pressure from all different sides. Not only do I have to run a business, ensure the livelihoods of my staff, team, customers, I've also got to be a wife, a friend, a daughter, all of those things, and it is a lot. So there's probably a lot of people out there who can totally relate to all of that, and it hasn't been easy. I've definitely had my ups and downs, and I've come to the conclusion now, a couple of years in, that for me, discipline and routine is, and being really, really disciplined about the little things, like my sleep's got to be on point. I've got to go to bed early. I've got to wake up early enough to be able to get a good workout in. I've got to move my body. I've got to eat healthy. I have to like alcohol free in the week, like no drinking midweek. I've got to be sharp about that.
Yeah, I love your and Josh's posts on LinkedIn. It's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
But like,
counteract,
this is,
it's just those daily habits that you guys go back and forth, but it's really insightful and educational stuff.
but like Tina of say 5 years ago she would be scoffing at me saying that routine and discipline was how I'm holding it together, because I was always just so absolutely not. And oh yuck, who would want a routine? I love being.
Would it be Tuesday client lunch at Soul Bar with a bottle of Verve? Yeah.
Of course. I mean, that is partly, this is pretty much how
and then come Wednesday, you're at Juice Bar.
Yeah, exactly. So, but that was just like part and parcel of the industry and the sector that we work in. That's kind of, and to some degree, it probably still is like a lot of relationship based. It is a large degree of how we operate is based on having really good relationships over a long period of time. And those relationships.
Are those long lunches still happening?
I don't have them. I don't have time for that. So I'm afraid not. Sometimes I try and hang out with our customers or people that we do work with once a quarter maybe, or once every 6 months. But people are so busy, it's just near impossible to get time with people out of the office.
On the brand,
maybe
right?
in other businesses they do.
If it's Reebok that want to spend about $1 million with you, I'm sure that lunch will go a little longer than maybe an SME from Yellow Pages.
Yeah, 100%. But yeah, I just perhaps it's got something to do with age, maybe, but I just cannot go back and be like a functioning human after even like a wine at lunch anymore. I was bulletproof before, just not these days.
Bulletproof, I love it. That's so good. Let's flip back into social media, which you're an absolute weapon at. We all know it's a very noisy place. I mean, how are brands at the moment standing out from the clutter and creating cut through? Is it simply down to the creative? Obviously, understanding your audience is very pertinent. Understanding your ICP and your persona, and then once you've got that on lockdown, is it simply just getting the best creative directors for the copy and the ad, or what are you seeing out there? I mean, it is tough for a lot of brands that they can throw a ton of money to get vanity metrics, but get no cut through, no conversion. But yeah, what are you seeing out there?
Yeah, so attention is the very first part of that equation, and there's a reason I named the agency the Attention Agency, because it is so cluttered, it's so noisy, and there's just so many options for where you're going to find these people. But then everybody's attention span is like so infinitesimal these days. You'll get
infinitesimal. I like that word. I'm going to write that one down.
Yeah, well, you can keep that one. But it's like, think about your own scrolling behavior. It's just literally like you've got a nanosecond to keep somebody's attention or to get it. So I think that in the land of social, it is capturing that attention frequently, because one little piece of content in social doesn't last a long time. So it's got to be consistent, and it's got to be engaging right from the get-go. So while I do love like long format, beautiful content, and there is a place for it, absolutely, once you've got somebody further down the funnel and they're really keen to watch a lovely whole 2-minute video or explainer about your product, I do think that to get attention and to get cut through, you've got to have lots of frequent, consistent, engaging pieces of content.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. The what did I see the other day? It was, I mean, the classic technique of kiss, right? Keep it simple, stupid. But that to me, I mean, I've seen a variety of ads that are just going back to basics and
basic,
really
the
standing out for me. I mean, look, let's take like boring oat milk for example, right? They're doing it. There's a lot of brands that are doing it, but as far as the social ads go, it's real, because I think it just drives a bit of curiosity, because you want to know more, because it is so simple. You're like, what's this all about? Like,
there's also something there's a little bit of psychology behind that too, where people engage because they believe it's really, really authentic. So there's something about those polished high production values videos that people are like instantly, that's an ad. You're immediately on the like skeptical vibes, whereas if it's super duper low quality, like rubbish production values, it says, oh, this is just a real person and they must be saying the truth, so I'll listen to what they're saying. So there's something about the whole TikTok generation that just really believe and trust in this kind of user-generated content style, like roughly shot, some absolutely just someone talking on the go with a woolly iPhone. That's
yeah. iPhone 6 type styles, eh?
yeah, exactly. And there's something that just kind of triggers, it just skips past that piece of the brain that says, oh, is this an ad? And it just goes straight to, oh, this is just a regular person. They must be, they must be legit. So
yeah, that's so funny. Ad agencies must be hating on the TikTok movement. Like ad agencies that spend like millions of dollars of creating the perfect ad, and they get the art director and the producer and everyone involved just to create this literal 15-second piece. And then like these like content creators on TikTok or YouTube or wherever that have like got, it's just like this inferior piece of content essentially.
Oh, inferior. Yeah.
But getting great cut through.
Yeah, totally. It is. I mean, like I guess our agency kind of sits on both sides of that. It's like we do produce some really highly polished, and it's more expensive to make that kind of stuff. But often we have to supplement that with some of that, gritty. And actually, do you know what? We produce that look as well.
Yeah.
So, but some of you can have a little bit of both in your kind of campaign activity, and for some brand building and consistency and quality, but back it up with some of that like really rubbish kind of content. But yeah, it's definitely if you're
back it. Well, that is the best sales pitch in a boardroom. What you ideally want to do, client, is back that up with some rubbish piece of content.
Totally. Well, yeah, I know.
So
just being so honest here, eh? Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. And also, I like it that with the intention agency, and I'm not sure if you did the double A's because you might be thinking that there's a resurgence of yellow pages.
I didn't actually, but that's pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Hey, how does the attention agency, do you think, like, set itself apart from its competitors? And I'm sure you get that question a lot too. From a
it's actually funny.
We might as well just be doing role play. I'm a prospective client, and you're pitching me.
Yeah, it's funny that you raise it now because obviously being at the start of the year, I've spent the last couple of weeks with my senior team talking about like re-looking at all of our messaging and how we position ourselves in the market, because as an agency in the digital social landscape, it's really, really hard to be different from anybody else. And so, there's a little Venn diagram of everything that every other agency says and the things that you could say about yourself. And there's probably a small sliver of the things in the middle that maybe set us apart. And I guess—
What are they?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So we're still nailing this down. And I think that it's probably our process. I know that sounds really boring, but we have got, I guess, a method, and we're giving it a name. I'm going to call it the long and short method. So just as a debut, by the way, I'm debuting this method for you.
Fantastic. Roll it out. You heard it here first on the Luke Farr Show.
Yeah, so we're calling it the long and short method. And it actually touches on that point that you raised a little bit earlier about our marketers missing something when they're just going straight for the conversion. So we won't work with a customer unless they have both the long and short method. The long and short view of things. So long-term brand building along with the short-term conversion performance marketing stuff. So all of our, every part of our campaign activity and strategy always revolves around both of those elements. So always thinking about long and short-term activity together. And then we also do something that makes us different from a lot of other agencies is that we'll do the outbound as well as the inbound activity. So that is oftentimes, especially for B2B or service-based businesses, they'll engage an agency to, do creative, do some advertising, maybe some email marketing, and that's all very much like to drive inbound inquiry, inbound leads. But not a lot of people are helping people, I guess, build lists, build email copy to do cold reach out, or to help, I guess, build those nurture journeys and automated email flows and funnels. And that is, there are agencies and contractors and a lot of offshoring solutions that do that part of it, but very few agencies doing both of those things together. And I think that that's closing a bit of a loop. So it's something that we wanted to do for ourselves. And so we built a system that works for us. And we thought, hey, if we're in need of a model like this, then there's got to be other businesses out there that are in need of that too. So yeah, that's definitely something that I know that there is very few people offering in our space.
100%. Yeah, no, I can resonate with that. I mean, look, at the end of the day, like your process is your IP, right? Because it differs amongst all of your competitors. So once you get that on lockdown, and if obviously if it is effective, then yeah, that's a huge USP and a selling point. It's like, hey, our processes are lit and on lockdown.
Yeah, I know it's again not very sexy, but to be honest, the average, I mean, most of our customers they're either a business owner themselves of a sort of small medium business, or they're an in-house marketer who is just absolutely crazy busy. They've got huge demands on them by their C-suite and they need support. And we do all the things that other agencies do too. We, creative execution, ad buying, all that kind of stuff. But there are other parts of that, other pieces of that puzzle that need to be joined together, which, especially for a smaller business, they don't have the resources to be able to, join all those dots themselves. So we're trying to do that piece for businesses like that.
Yeah, very good. And like, let's talk about that too. Let's take let's take like a Reaper, Powers, and let's just say Honest Rum, for example. Sort of emerging brands. They haven't been around too long. But I mean, are we talking like what type of marketing budgets are, for example, those brands dealing with? I mean, they don't have millions, right? But are we talking at least? Have they got sort of $500,000 to really make an impact with their brand and marketing, or yeah, what's your experience on that front?
I mean, great question, and like you've pointed out some really beautiful brands who have like absolutely crushed their marketing, especially in the last year or two. And yeah, I don't think that they've got massive brands to throw around. They've just got some really beautiful standout creative, which is part one. But part two, they're also utilizing, especially Pals. I mean, that is a business founded by people who have influenced themselves. And so
shout out Jay,
shout out Jay. And
yeah, it kind of helps when you're on the rock and you're at the MTV Juno for a while. Yeah, for sure.
Definitely helps. But they've got a really innate understanding of how to utilize word of mouth and that person to person influence. And so they obviously from the very get-go have integrated that, like the social element. Obviously it's an alcohol product, so of course you're going to need to have social parties, events, things like that, but just getting it in the hands of people has been critical. And all of those beverage brands you just mentioned there, I'm pretty sure that the key to beverage marketing is getting it in people's hands and getting people talking about it. And then I just absolutely loved the latest creative for their newest flavor, which is the red one.
How good. It's got that, I don't even know what it is, but the yuzu and red peach, that's good actually.
Yeah, but just the creative is so simple. It's just big old red billboard, the red one.
The red one.
It's just unbelievably simple. Back to your like keep it simple, stupid. They have gone straight back to the basics. And yeah. So I don't actually think they've got huge marketing budgets, but they've definitely got bigger marketing budgets than some of our customers. But they've used it smart and utilized their network as much as they possibly could. So I think that there are, in terms of B2C, like product brands, getting your product in the hands of people who can put together some shaky YouTube, short or some rubbish TikTok content.
Rubbish TikTok, I love it. You're just like coining the term, eh? Hey, from what's your opinion around where we're kind of heading with this social media landscape? I mean, even like, we've seen the sort of resurgence again of like VR and AR was hot and sort of, I don't know, 2018 and now into like NFTs and then the metaverse. And I mean, there's a lot going on, but like from your opinion, Tina, even TikTok's only been around, what, 3 years?
Few years, yeah.
Yeah, like what are we going to be seeing in 2030? That's like 7 years away. Like where's this going?
That's like 7 years away. I wish I had a crystal ball so I knew myself.
Yeah.
But I do think that, trends come and go. And right now, I think that the mega sizzling hot topic is ChatGPT, the AI, robot that will tell you the answers to everything that you've ever got questions for. Whether or not they're factually correct or not, that's another question.
That's amazing. I won't need a partner or a woman anymore. I mean, that's what I use them for. So I just need ChatGPT. That'd be great.
That's it. And I've seen some really great examples of people having conversations with ChatGPT. It is very amusing. I think that
what's the funniest one you've seen?
It was about like somebody asked whether or not I can't actually remember the nature of the question, but ChatGPT gave what it said was the correct answer, and the user said, "No, my wife says that's incorrect." And then ChatGPT said, "Oh, if your wife says it's incorrect, it must be incorrect because wives are always correct."
Very good.
Yeah, I was like, "That's the one."
Yeah,
But
clearly, ChatGPT was made by a woman.
it must be good. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I think that there are, there's always like platforms evolving. Yes, TikTok is absolutely like storming up the user charts, but there's always such fragility there. There's still threats like in the US talking about banning TikTok, for instance. So I think that brands ought to be really careful about throwing all of themselves or all of their resources into any one platform or channel. Just because of the fragile nature of where eyeballs go or any of those technologies. So just being really careful about not going too hard out onto any one channel, but tiptoeing into those things. And certainly like you've got to be there and at least give it a go. I do think though that things like the metaverse and Web3, and you mentioned AR and VR, like some brands don't have the money to invest in all of those things and do it well. Some brands absolutely do, and sure, go ahead and experiment with those things. But I think that there's so much that you could potentially get caught up in, and lots of shiny new things, just forgetting about all of the basic stuff.
I think ultimately it's like, where are my customers at? Yeah.
Exactly. Like that's just like, just go back to, forget about where the shiny things are and just go back to the basics. Like, who's your customer? Where actually are they? If your customer is, 57-year-old Jenny who lives in Hamilton, is she on TikTok? She might be.
If it's 57 Jenny, take a 1 UV full page ad out in the Waikato yellow pages for sure.
He's still on
Jenny, yeah, the attention agency doesn't want to hear that, but like, objectively speaking, Jenny's going to be flipping through the old yellow looking for AAA automotive.
Yeah, she'll be flipping through flipping through magazines when she's at the cafe with her mates. But she's probably also on Facebook still.
Do you reckon Jenny's picking up the remix mag?
So it's quite possible, to be honest. Like we are the aging original audience of that magazine. She probably is an OG remix fan. She's probably got the CDs from the front cover from all those years ago, to be honest.
I mean, I'm not hating on Waikato at all. I just don't think there's many of their crowd down in the Waikato for remix, but I could be wrong.
Maybe not. We don't have the data.
No, we don't. Hey, Tina, for young budding wannabe entrepreneurs, you've been there, you've done that. I mean, what's your advice as far as like what not to do? What were your biggest learnings off the back of any key failures?
I think that not knowing how much hard work is involved. Like I actually read somewhere I think it was a study it was in Business Insider just this week, in fact, about the top 5 most desired career choices for young Americans these days. And number 2 or 3 was entrepreneur. And I don't actually think that people understand how much hard work and sacrifice is involved in being an entrepreneur for a start. So pitfall to avoid there is trying to start something without knowing that you're going to need to have a lot of gas in the tank, a lot of support, a lot of hard work, probably living on the smell of an oily rag for a number of years. And that you might fail. A good number of entrepreneurs, it's a crazy high number of people who start businesses fail. So if you're not the kind of person who's made out for failure, hard work, not making money, potentially, all of these really crummy things, then don't venture down that path. There is absolutely nothing wrong with being a really great, solid individual contributor in a business. There's nothing wrong with building a career for yourself and working for other people. There's, it might seem glamorous and desirable to be a business owner or an entrepreneur, start something new, but for a large majority of people, that's not going to happen. And there is respect to be had in knowing that you're not that person.
Yeah, so true. A lot to unpack there, but on an inner soul level of knowing who you are and having self-awareness, I think it starts there, right? And going, am I actually cut out to be an entrepreneur? Is this meant to be for me rather than, following the herd, following the pack?
Yeah.
And like you said, it's like maybe you're the person that is going to be a great employee for a business that you love, and that's better suited for you. So yeah, really understanding yourself, your values, and where you're heading is key, right?
So key. And, if for every one of those successful entrepreneurs need really great people who are dependable, who are creative, who are, solid teammates, who are A players, that's actually what makes those businesses go around. And those people are highly valuable. So, if you're somebody who wants to check out at 5 or 6 p.m., entrepreneurship's not for you. If you're someone who wants to have a weekend,
If you're someone that wants to stay up to midnight,
yeah,
and get very little sleep and really have no life for about 5 to 10 years, then entrepreneurship is for you.
yes, exactly. So like, honestly, I feel like that should be just like step 1. Am I that kind of person? Step 2, then work out what it is that you want to do. Yeah, because you get bound to it. You get stuck by your business, and it will be your ball and chain. So you better fucking love it,
Yeah, very true, very true. On that note, I do want to do a lovely shout out and thank you to our sponsor, Autophagy Skincare, which is a self-activating lightweight moisturizer. I actually use it. It is unisex, made up of pomegranate, grapeseed extract, and green tea. It is committed to the environment. They try to reduce the carbon footprint by using recycled plastic made from sugarcane pulp, which is cool. And the box is made from sustainable forests printed with vegetable ink. So that means it's better for the planet. Visit www.autophagyskincare.com. Anyway, back to the guest, but that's all we have time for today. But Tina, I do want to say thank you for coming on the show. Really appreciate your insights. Some great learnings there. And yeah, thank you for spending your time with me.
Thanks, Luke. Thanks for a great yarn. It's a good trip down Media Memory Lane there in some parts.
Media Memory Lane. Oh, I love it. You've got all the one-liners. I wouldn't expect anything less from a social media aficionado. Thanks, Tina. Thanks for coming on.
Cool. Thanks, Luke.
I'll just hit the stop record.